Hello to everybody watching this. My name's Dr. Shawn Sobers and I'm recording this video for Bath Spa University's Black History Month, and I'm in the city of Bath. It's sunrise. It might not look it from the sky, but it's sunrise this morning. It's very rainy, hence why I'm squinting a bit, but I'm in a very special location in the city of Bath, and I'll be telling you more about that during this tour. I'm just going to flip the video so you can see what's in front of me. Got this lion sculpture in this tree which is still embedded into the roots, and then as we come up here we've got this lovely little bench. It's got a red, gold and green star David, and then it's got this message to the almighty Haile Selassie. And as you go through you can see this beautiful flagpole with the Ethiopian flag with the Lion of Judah in the middle. So you may be guessing where we are. As you come here we see this blue plaque, and the blue plaque, I don't know if I can zoom in, says Friends of Fairfield House, Emperor Haile Selassie I and Her Imperial Majesty Empress Menen Afsor and children, grandchildren, advisors and Ethiopian priests lived here at Fairfield House from 1936 to 1943. Fairfield was gifted to the city in 1958. So that's right, I'm just going to pull back so you can see what it looks like. It's a beautiful building and it's called Fairfield House, as was said, and this is tucked away in the city of Bath. I call it one of Bath's best kept secrets. So I'm a trustee of Fairfield House. I'm on the management committee for the community interest company that manages the space. So I'm going to be taking you on a tour into Fairfield House right now. So I'm just going to flip it again. So we're going to go through and you'll be able to see the magnificent insides of this building. We've got this lovely little statue here of this Rasta. I'll be telling more about the significance of the Rasta community. We've got these plaques. You might not be able to see them clearly, but this tells the story of how the house came to be donated to the city. So that's in English. We've got it in Amharic, but I'll tell you the story as we go through. So got to wear face masks because of COVID-19. That's really important in this space. So just wipe my feet here. Important to keep the place clean. As you can see, we've got social distancing. Very important. Sign in. Let me just sign in. It's hard to sign in when you're videoing at the same time. Oh, this is a temperature thing for COVID. Okay, I'll do that in a moment. Right, so as we go through, put some money in the box for later. It's important to donate. So yeah, this is the hallway of Fairfield. It's very beautiful. You can see these got these ornate carvings and very beautiful chandeliers and steps going up. So Haile Selassie and his family lived here from 1936. The emperor left in 1940, but members of the family stayed until 1943. And it was during the time of Benito Mussolini's invasion of Ethiopia. The emperor, as you can see here, he fought on the front line of Ethiopia for quite a time, but then it came to the point where he felt that he had to leave Ethiopia. Very painful decision. He had to leave Ethiopia and come to the west to try to gather for support for the campaign to liberate Ethiopia. So he came to Britain. Officially, he was in exile. Officially, at that point, the British government had not declared Mussolini to be an enemy of theirs because he hadn't sided with Hitler at that point. So they were still appeasing Mussolini's fascist government. So England actually was in a difficult situation, harbouring, essentially a refugee of Mussolini's aggression. So when the emperor came to London, he's really popular, massive crowds came out, and actually the British government said, you're an embarrassment here for us because we can't publicly declare our solidarity with you, so you're not going to be able to live in London, you're going to have to go elsewhere. So he went to various places, and this is where he ended up. He bought Fairfield House with his private funds, so it's his private property, and he lived here, as I say, from 1936 to himself 1940, and his family continued living here to 1943. So it's a very special place, and he lived here not only with his family, he had the children and grandchildren, but also his government advisors lived here. So essentially Fairfield House was the Ethiopian government in exile was in the city of Bath, and also there were priests here. There were Ethiopian Orthodox priests. Haile Selassie was the head of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, and there was a chapel outside as well. If it's not raining a bit later, I'll be able to show you where the chapel was. So just going to flip the camera again so you can see this is one of the main lounge rooms. And I'll tell you about how the space is used today a little bit later, but we got this magnificent portrait of the emperor, and the emperor was an incredibly famous world leader, one of the most travelled world leaders, and he, good friends with President Kennedy, etc. And, he was absolutely one of the leading statesmen during his time. We got this here is very special. This is a pianola, and it's an automated piano, and it plays music scrolls. So it looks like a normal piano, but actually you can put scrolls in it, and it plays the music automatically. So you can see here, if I took the cover off, we've got about 200 of these music scrolls, and it plays the music automatically when you press the pedals. So it's very special. We're doing quite a bit of research around that at the moment. This is a fantastic paintings that we've got on the wall by Redate Abunya. And she's exhibited her work. She's Bristol based, so it's fantastic to have her work here. So this is the conservatory, really beautiful space. This is where we have the luncheon clubs, and I'll explain more about that in a minute. So you can see the massive wonderful grounds all around outside Fairfield. All these grounds outside belong to this house. We've got a small kind of veg plot, small allotment sort of space out there. Really magnificent. These are some of the people that use the space. So in 1958, the emperor left Fairfield House to the city. He was really affectionate about the people of Bath and how they treated him when he was in his time in exile. So he left the house to the city to be used for the elders of the city, for aged citizens, it says. So today we have a day centre for aged citizens, and they've been using Fairfield House for the past 27 years as their place. They come 3 days a week. Zoomed in there, for their luncheon clubs. They do crafts, they do little projects, they play dominoes, and it's really fantastic. So it's run by the Bath Ethnic Minority Senior Citizens Association, or BEMSCA as it's known. And so it's absolutely fantastic to have them here. One of the people that's really pioneering in this history is Beryl Dixon, God rest her soul. She passed away a few years ago, but she's one of the founders of BEMSCA. So it's really fantastic that she's had an MBE. You can see there she's getting invested by the Queen with her MBE. This is another tribute. This is Shawn Nightingale Sobers. She's actually my cousin, but she was actually really important to Fairfield House and did a lot of work, a lot of fundraising activities. So it's fantastic to have her tribute here. And you can see these portraits on the wall. These are by a local artist who just lives around the corner called Karen Wallace. And she spent a lot of time here on an artist residency and did these wonderful pictures. Here the men playing dominoes. And this one slipped a bit in the frame, but fantastic drawing of Fairfield House. That's me. This is Shawn. That's my mum. She used the space as well. Love her. This is Sandy. She's one of the workers here. And this is the fantastic Pauline Swaby Wallace. She's the mother of the house, the manager. She runs Bempska. She's the director of Bempska, the day centre, but she's also the overall kind of, manager, brain, wisdom, mother of the house. Absolutely fantastic. Love Pauline to bits. So it's great to have her portrait here. So this is a bit of the downstairs. I'll show you just across the hallway. Some of the lights aren't going to be on, so I'll be turning on the lights as I go through. So this is the dining room. As you can see, it's a functional space. It gets used by the day centre, which is really important. This is, we're lucky to have still the original cornices and carvings. But this was one of the dining rooms of Fairfield, and there's one of the stories. When I did some research about this, I spoke to a lady called Hilary King, and she talked about how when she was a child, she used to play with the grandchildren and the children of the emperor. So she used to come up here, her parents would drop her up here, and she would play with the children. And on some occasions, she would get to eat with the emperor and the family. And she remembers one embarrassing occasion when she was trying to cut up her vegetables on the plate. But because, when you dine with an emperor, you dine with gold plates. And she said that she's trying to cut up her vegetables and potatoes, and it's making an embarrassing screeching noise all over the plate, and she couldn't eat because she's so embarrassed. And the emperor was just quiet, just sort of smiling at her as she was embarrassed. So, fantastic memories of people. So we're going to go upstairs now to the landing. See here, we've got these beautiful portrait sculptures of the emperor and empress, and this is a landing. I'll kind of come around here so you can see it a bit better. But on that landing, they say that's where the emperor used to sit. He used to sit and read and just kind of contemplate the day, just watch the house, and it's a very kind of peaceful location. So yeah, it's really great to be able to still have this in perseverance. Lots of buildings like this were completely kind of gutted in the 1950s, and the council actually wanted to sell it as a private residence with private flats, but we put together a campaign to make sure that the council didn't sell it, and we're still part of that campaign today. So we're working with the council to try to save the property. So it's important that, we keep that pressure alive, because we do not want to lose this for the community. It's far too important. So we've got some portraits here of different Ethiopian members of the family, Ethiopian, monarchy, Emperor Menelik. I'll explain more about who Emperor Menelik is in a moment. So I'm going to go into another room. Hopefully it's open. I'm coming here slightly. Oh, yeah, that's good. So here we have one of our kind of museum rooms. We have a small museum space here called the Tafari Gallery. So I'll just do a quick sweep around so you can kind of see we've got various different artifacts and different cabinets. So I'm going to come across here. So this is Emperor Menelik. You just saw the photograph of the wall. Emperor Menelik II. Emperor Menelik I was the first emperor of Ethiopia. And I'll explain more about him in a moment. But this is Emperor Menelik II, and that's his wife, Empress Tatu. And you see this lovely mural on the wall. So here we have Emperor Menelik on his horse. That's Empress Tatu there on her horse. Over here we have this figure. This figure is St. George, because St. George is the patron saint of Ethiopia in the same way that he's the patron saint of England. So he's also a revered figure. And what we have here is Ethiopian army fighting the Italian army. And this is in 1896. Yeah, I'll show you the whole mural here. So 1896 was the first time that Italy tried to invade Ethiopia. So Mussolini tried it again in 1936, but the first time was in 1896 when Italy tried to do it the first time. And in that battle, Emperor Menelik and Empress Tatu defeated the Italians. So this mural is called the Battle of Adwa, because Adwa was the area of Ethiopia where the Italians kind of came in and tried to invade, and the Ethiopian, with their spears, they overthrew the military might of the Italians with their cannons. So it was a very humiliating defeat for the Italians at that point. And when Mussolini came to power in the 1930s, this was one of the battles that he was trying to avenge. So you can imagine how heightened the passions were with the emperor and him trying to defeat the Italians on the second time around. But Emperor Menelik and Empress Tatu were very much the heroes of this first battle. So I mentioned that Emperor Menelik II was by his name was the second Emperor Menelik. The first Emperor Menelik is told about in this story. I'm not able to talk about every panel because of time, but what we see here in this very first panel are two people in bed together, and the man is King Solomon from the Bible, and the woman is the Queen of Sheba, or Queen Makeda as she's known in Ethiopia. And King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, they had a child together, and that child was Emperor Menelik, because Queen Makeda herself was the Queen of Ethiopia and that area of Abyssinia. So the child between King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, he then travelled back to Ethiopia with the Ark of the Covenant, and he became the first emperor of Ethiopia. So that's where what's called the Solomonic dynasty, and Haile Selassie himself is the 225th descendant of Solomon and Sheba. So that's why he seemed to be a very special individual, because he's got that biblical royal. So there I am in the mirror. We got some really precious books here that's been donated. We have lots of things donated to a charity. These photographs, to show you very briefly, these were taken in 1958, so you can see what the house looked like back then. And actually, the actual structure of the building is still very similar. It just needs some TLC with the decoration. I've got time to show you all of these things, but we've got some different Ethiopian artifacts. We've got medals. Various different artifacts, which is really lovely. We've got local history stories of different peoples, sort of reminiscence of of the emperor's time here. And we've also got this lovely photograph. This is the chapel. You can see the stained glass in the chapel. So this is where the chapel was when it was here. It is just, if I look through the window, we've got some work happening. We've got a lovely garden happening, if I can get the camera in focus. But what we're doing, we're building a sacred garden. One of our directors, Ras Benji, has been putting in a lot of hard work with his brethren, building this sacred garden. So you can see here the benches have been covered over in the rain, but it's a really beautiful sacred garden, and that's where the chapel used to be. So I'm now just going to walk across this other side of the room, and I'm not sure whether you'll be able to see these views. So right across there, that's between the trees, that's the view of Bath. That's the kind of area looking across kind of Twerton, and up across kind of, Haycombe, that sort of side of Bath. And also Newton, actually, so not far from Bath Spa University. And as we see here, this photograph, this is an area called Harar in Ethiopia, and this is where the emperor was governor of at the age of 14. And what Haile Selassie wrote in his autobiography, he wrote, "The view from the front windows of Fairfield House always reminded us of the hills of Harar." And I think that's really beautiful when you kind of see that landscape. And, you know, when you can see this landscape is a bit covered of trees, but you can actually see some similarities. And the emperor, that's not going in focus, but the emperor was so affectionate about Fairfield House in the city of Bath that when he came back to Ethiopia, when he went back, he actually named one of his palaces Fairfield. And today it's a university campus building by the University of Addis Ababa. But that was one of his palaces, and he named it Fairfield in tribute to this actual building today and the people of Bath. So that's really fantastic. So I'm just going to go through. So the emperor left Ethiopia. Just going through a dark room. We got a temporary gallery space, but there's no art up on the walls at the moment. This room might be a bit dark, but we've got an Ethiopian kind of prayer room. I'd have to take my shoes off to come in here, but I think it's quite moody and atmospheric in the dark. But we've got Ethiopian artifacts in here that you can come here and kind of pray, meditate, just have some quiet time, which is really nice. So the emperor, when he left Ethiopia on the 5th of May, 1936. And when he re-entered Ethiopia, he re-entered exactly 5 years to the day on the 5th of May, 1941. So, you know, very kind of symbolic situation. So I'm just showing you another room now. This is one of our meeting rooms. So we've got these tables, but we've also got a temporary exhibition space in here which tells the story. This is Time magazine, and they had the emperor as their kind of figure of the year in 1930. He was crowned on 2nd of November with Empress Menen. I'll show you a picture of some of the family. So there's some of the family who lived here. So this exhibition tells you the story. So I'm not going to kind of talk you through every panel. It'd be lovely for you to come here and visit. Just want to show you a couple of photographs. One photograph, this is taken in Bath Spa Station in 1936 in August. And this is when the Emperor and Empress arrived at Bath Spa Station. This is the deed. So this is the deed of Fairfield House. So we've got Haile Selassie's signature there. And it's co-signed by the town clerk. And this is actually the deed that tells you that the Fairfield House was left to the city of Bath for aged people. So here it explains some of the intricacies of the deed, and it says here, left to the Corporation of Bath as a home for aged people. So the Corporation of Bath is essentially Bath Council. So here Selassie gives Bath a home for the aged. So this was in the newspaper, the Bath Chronicle, 1958, 10th of May 1958. Got this wonderful photograph here of the Rastafarian community. I'll explain more about their connection, but that's Mayor Raycliffe with the Rastafari group that came down from London, and you know, that's in the Guild Hall where the mayor resides. So that's a fantastic photograph. Another great photograph here, 1936, outside the Roman baths. And you can see here everyone's really affectionate and really, you know, celebrating the arrival of an emperor in their country and then their city. And another letter here that we have on display, which is really special. And it's dated, so Fairfield House, 16th of May 1940, and as it says here in the annotation, the Emperor's letter to Winston Churchill, 16th of May. So basically in this letter, the Emperor is congratulating Winston Churchill for becoming Prime Minister, and he says, I look forward to working with you, you know, as you go forward in your premiership. And at that point, King George VI was on the throne. So yeah, fantastic historical record. There's another picture from 1958 when Haile Selassie came back. He came back and got the freedom of the city, which is the highest honor that anyone can have from a city. And also at that time, he met the Queen. He met the Queen before, but this was a proper state occasion. You know, remember when he first came here in 1936, he had to be a bit more undercover. But when he came back in 1954, it was a big state occasion with lots of pomp and ceremony. And he was, you know, he was the guest of Prince of the Queen and also Winston Churchill at that time. So I'm now going to explain a bit more about Rastafari and the impact of Haile Selassie on the world, really. So Rastafari essentially see Haile Selassie as their god, as their deity. This gentleman, Marcus Garvey, he's a Jamaican philosopher, an activist and businessman, an entrepreneur. He prophesied in 1925, he said, "Look to Africa where a black king shall be crowned, for the day of deliverance is at hand." And this gentleman is Leonard Howell. He's known as the first Rasta, also known as the Gong. There were three other individuals there: Leonard Howell, there was Joseph Hibbard, Archibald Dunkley, and Robert Hines. And individually, in 1930, when Haile Selassie was crowned, and he was crowned the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, the conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, elect of God and light of this world. That's Haile Selassie's official names. Before 1930, Haile Selassie's name was Rastafari McConnell. That's what is known as. Ras is a title, it means kind of governor. Tafari McConnell is his actual name. And then Haile Selassie is the name that he had when he was crowned. So Rastafari, as you know them, Bob Marley's the most famous worldwide figure of the Rastas, their name is actually the name of Haile Selassie. And Fairfield House now is a site of pilgrimage for Rastas, for Ethiopian community and other sympathizers from all over the world, and it has this incredible impact. This is another picture of children, 1954, when Haile Selassie came back and got the freedom of the city. And this is rather special. This particular photograph, taken in 1936, it's taken in Wemyss Bay in Scotland, and it's actually the first colour photograph in a newspaper anywhere in the world. It is in the Daily Record newspaper, and this is Olive Muir on the side. She was a figure at that point. She's quite vocal. She is also official chaperone of Princess Tashire, and that's the emperor there. And I visited this location a couple of years ago, and it's absolutely fantastic. And the people that live around there still know of this photograph and when it was taken. So now just coming up to date. And then we've also got a trail, and a gentleman called Keith Bowers, who wrote this brilliant book called Imperial Exile. He wrote, so he's one of the Bath guides, and he does trails around Bath, and it'd be good for you to book, if you can, to go on his tour. It's absolutely fantastic. So this is just a very quick tour of Fairfield House. For you can see, I'm just going to show you one more picture of the emperor leaning up against the window in Fairfield. You know, as I say, as the community interest company, we are still campaigning to save Fairfield House. It needs a lot of financial investment. It needs a lot of support. We do have a partnership. So I'm sweating, and it's also still wet from the rain. We do have a partnership with Bath University, and we're looking to work with the students. So if any of you students want internships and volunteer experience working at Fairfield, it'd be absolutely fantastic to welcome you here and see how you can get involved. Also, we're looking for letters of support, because we are still working with the council to take on this and get heritage lottery funding, etc. So I'm going to stop it now, the video. This is just coming up to half an hour long, but it's been a pleasure showing you around a little bit of Fairfield House. There's still more to see, but please do come and visit. and see the wonderful kind of location that the Emperor and Empress left to the city as a gift. So I wish you all a good day. I wish you all a good 2020. There's lots going on, and Black History Month. But as I always say, Black History Month is 365, sorry, I'm getting so tired. 365, every day of the year is Black History Month. Every day is Black History Day, and also Black history is British history. There's no separation with these things, okay? So please don't think that some history belongs to certain types of people. We're all connected, and hopefully this story of the Emperor and Empress and the city of Bath has inspired you to get involved. All right, take care, all the best, peace, blessed love.